Hey there, welcome back to my garden. Today I'm going to be pruning all of my boxwood. It's going to be a long process. I think not a complicated process, but a little bit of a tedious, though relaxing process. I don't know how many boxwood I have in my garden, so I'll be kind of counting as I go. But now is the time for me in my zone. I'm zone 8B. For me to be doing this chore because I don't want to do it too late when it's starting to get really warm. We do have some warm weather on the forecast, so I want to make sure that I'm getting it done now before that really sets in so that the new growth that's exposed doesn't get damaged in the heat. So primarily in my gardens, as far as my boxwoods go, I have them all shaped into balls. I don't have any hedging, any formal hedging. So the process of this is just really repetitious, just really just kind of shaping the boxwoods up. They all naturally want to grow into a bit of a ball shape, except for the green mountains that I have in the front yard. Those are kind of more conical, but all the rest of them that I have between green velvet, green gem, the Franklin gem, which are right behind me, which we did actually already prune. Um, yeah, so all of them generally want to form into the ball shape, but some get a little bit more branchy than others. So they just need to be reshaped, reminded of the shape that they're supposed to be taking as a tight ball. And now's the time to do that for me. So why boxwood? Why do I have boxwoods in my garden? They're just green, kind of unimpressive looking as far as garden plants go. But the reason that I have them in my gardens is for kind of like a comma. I love grammar, so sorry for my example here, but they're kind of like a comma. They're a pause in the gardens. I call my gardens rustic. They're kind of wild in places. They're full. There's a lot going on, and every now and again in the garden, you just need a moment for your eyes to pause, I feel. I kind of got onto this kick after discovering Linda Vodder. I loved in her gardens how they were full and abundant and lush, but every now and again she would just have a boxwood ball plopped, all throughout her gardens. And I just loved that look. So I kind of ran with it. I have them all throughout my gardens, and yeah, they just need a bit of pruning each year. So I just do it usually once a year, so it's not a huge, ongoing maintenance task, which I love about boxwood. They don't really need much. They're very versatile. They can do sun or shade. Once they get established, they're very low water use. Deer don't like them. So yeah, they're just a really easy plant to have in your garden. Boxwoods just obviously also go with anything, being that they are green, they coordinate with all different shades in the garden, and I really appreciate that. They kind of just also tie all of my spaces together because they are one thing that I definitely have repeated throughout the gardens. So today we are going to get started and hopefully finished on pruning all of the boxwoods. I'm just going to show you the tools that I'm using. It's pretty basic, honestly. The toughest part for me is kind of just keeping it tidy as I go, so there's not a ton of cleanup from the process. So I'll show you what I'm working with, and then we'll just look at these ones that I'm going to start with here next to our patio, and then we will just dive in and get the job done. All right, so the tools that I'm using are really pretty basic. I have a very, very sharp, I guess head shear is what you would call these. They're super, super sharp. I only use them for boxwoods so that they do stay very sharp. And I like that they are long, they come to a point, so that makes it really, really easy. Here's the I just got them off of Amazon. These were recommended, I believe, by Linda Vodder, which is, I trusted her opinion, so I went for those. I also might just be using some of my scissors. These are just Fiskar scissors. They're very, very sharp because I just got them last year. And I think that these will make some of the process easier, just, getting in nice and close. I think I'll probably end up using those also. And then here, I just have some hand towels. I think I'm going to be using these to kind of put around the boxwoods as I clip. I was kind of trying to think of what I could use for that to catch the clippings, because when I did these, I just kind of made a mess everywhere, and then I ended up putting a box, a plant box underneath, just I think I only did it on one of them. I put it underneath the boxwood and just kind of moved it, you know, around the box as I went, and that caught most of the clippings. And that was really helpful. But because a lot of the boxwoods, we're going to start right over here, because a lot of them are very close together, I think I'm just going to lay towels in between to catch the majority of the clippings. I don't know. In some of the beds where, let's see, I don't know. In some of the beds where it's really densely planted, I might just clip and let them fall and brush them underneath other plants, let them decompose, you know, naturally. But in areas like right here where they're surrounded primarily by mulch, I'm gonna try to use the towels as my method of catching the clippings. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. It's worth a try, just for the easy cleanup of just the little itty bitty clippings of all the leaves that get snipped off. So let's just come over here and look. I hope you guys can hear me okay. My son's over here mowing all of the lawns, but you can see how this has just gotten, you know, really floofy. Oh, it's beautiful, honestly, and it is kind of hard for me to clip off the new growth, but in order to really keep them in this shape, I have to do it. So I'm just gonna come in here, and I don't think I'm going to take off too much. It's really not a drastic job that I do, but in situations, especially, you know, like this, where they're just really nicely repeated, I want to maintain the shape. I don't really want them to become a hedge. As of right now, I don't know. I might change my mind on that in the future and let these guys just, especially these four right here, I might let them hedge up. Seeing how aggressively they want to grow, I don't know. But anyway, there's also some in containers, like right here. There's a couple sprinter boxwoods out there that'll have to do. They're just all throughout. So like I said, this is kind of a long process. It's not difficult. It's just a little bit tedious, you know, a little bit repetitious. So I'm just going to kind of video as I go along, so you can just kind of see as I work through the process. Probably won't do too much talking since, like I said, my son is mowing, and I don't want that to be inhibiting the video, I guess. So anyway, I guess the best thing to do is just to dive in and get started. Okay, got these ones done. These are all green velvet, and because these ones have kind of a more, you know, prominent location as they just kind of stand here alone, I probably gave these a little bit more of a careful pruning than I will maybe all of the other ones. These ones are all quite dense, and unfortunately I did have a rose campion growing here, which I think inhibited this one from growing really well on the bottom. This one also has an kind of a opening right there. I did previously have another boxwood planted right here in the middle, but the dogs just kept taking this path, so I took that one out and moved it. But so now we have those two, and then these four, which actually progressively get smaller as they get down there towards the sedum, which I'm not exactly sure why, but that's okay. I think the towel method worked pretty well to keep the mess to a minimum, but then I did have to come back with the scissors after I removed the towels to get the bottom of the boxwood, so that did leave a little bit of a mess, but that is okay. So yeah, 6 down, and I'm not even sure how many to go. Maybe 30, 35, I don't know, but Anyway, let's just keep on moving. Okay, I'm all finished with the ones in the backyard, and that was 23 total that I pruned. I do still have 3 more that I did not prune because I think they went through some pretty bad spider mite damage from last year, so they're really pale in color, and I just want to give them a season to kind of recover. So, but we got all the rest of them done. Some needed a little bit more than others. Some I kind of just want to let be a little bit looser than the ones that we started out with. So I'll just turn you around, kind of, we'll just breeze through the ones that we did here. I'm gonna take a break and go get something to drink, and then we will move up into the front yard and get finished up there. This was the last one that we did, and I don't know if this is a winter gem or a baby gem. I would assume it's whichever one grows smaller because I don't think I would have put the bigger one right here. You can see how beautiful glossy this one is, and pretty big leaves compared to the ones, the green velvet that I have up front. But this, I believe, is another of the same. This one also had spider mite damage. You can see in there the kind of paler leaves have a little bit of a mottled look to them. From behind here, you can see there is one right here, one right here, one right here, and then one up here that we did. And all of those were just pretty minimal. These were all a little bit on the smaller side. This is another of the same variety in the backyard with the bigger leaves. I feel like they probably all are, just because their leaves look so similar. I think that these 4 are probably all the same. Probably either winter gem or baby gem, I think. Didn't really use the towel too much for these ones just because it's planted a little bit denser. I should have used it on this one just because you can obviously see that mess, but those will brown out really quick as soon as this warmer weather hits for us. They'll just brown out and mix in pretty well with the mulch. So, and coming up here on the back lawn, I have this bed right here that has, these are the green velvet that are dotted into here, 5 of them. 4 of them I've had in since last year, and then this one right here I just put in at the beginning of spring, so it needed a little bit more shaping. I was going to do it when I first planted it in, but I thought I'd let it root in, get settled into its spot, and then I would do it. So that one looks just a little bit different than the other ones. These ones really didn't need much. They didn't have a ton of new growth on them. Some of them just had like a little weird branch here and there that needed it. So yeah, those ones were pretty quick and easy. And then these ones back here in these containers by the garden shed, this one I'm pruning. This is one of the green mountain that I'm pruning into a cone, as you can see. I probably could have taken a little bit more off of this one just to encourage it to be more dense, but I don't know, I didn't. It's so young yet that I didn't want to, I don't know. I might come back and do that one again in the fall just to try to get it to be a little bit more a more dense shrub. So this one's been in the pot for a long time, just continuing to keep that one in a nice little tight ball. And then this one right here, I kind of went a little bit of a different direction. This was actually the one that was taken out by the others that we've started with that got damaged by the dogs. And so it had a branch that was broken out and a big hole in it. And so last year I kind of decided to try to make it a little bit more of a interesting topiary, kind of again inspired by Linda Vaughter. And it had started to fill in on the bottom, but I just decided, well, I'll just take those off and see what I think. So it just kind of, you can see the branches on the bottom, and I'm just going to kind of play with this one and see what happens with it, because topiaries are fun. And yeah, nothing to really lose by playing around with this one. But this one over here was one, again, that I just shorn into a ball. Had to straighten out that pot just a little bit. And then coming around this side, here's another one. These ones are all the green velvet. This one also is in a container. And these ones, as you saw, we started out with these ones. And then this one back here in the pot. We also got that one done. So, just kidding. I just realized I have two more back here. So I'm going to get these ones done really quick, and then I'm going to go inside and I'm going to get some coffee, and then we're going to go up in the front yard. All right, we're up in the front beds now, and I don't have as many boxwood up here, I don't think, as I do in the backyard, but I do have quite a number of them in this no dig bed that's behind me that needs some pruning. So we'll be doing those, and then I think I do have several that are down in the lower garden. So we'll look at these ones that I'm looking at right here really quick. So there's a couple right here. There's one right here and one right here. These ones are both the green velvet. The biggest thing with this one is I just need to get some of these Mountain Bluette off of it. And this one will just take a light shearing on it, as will this one. And then around here in this front bed, these ones are kind of getting a little bit shrouded by the butterfly bushes that are above them, but these ones will take just a little bit of pruning, and then on through, they're kind of harder to distinguish underneath the bobo hydrangeas, but in between there's a bunch of green velvet boxwoods that wrap their way all the way around the front of this bed. And then these ones over here looking pretty shaggy too. There's just 4 right here. I don't think I'll have to do too much on that Green Mountain boxwood right there. And then there's a couple more over here. So yeah, and then down in the front. So I guess there actually are quite a few that are up here. So, but fortunately these ones are all pretty bunched together, so I don't think I'll have to be worrying too much about the mess that they make with the towels and all that stuff. So hopefully they will go a little bit faster than they did in the backyard. But yeah, let's just get to it. Okay, we just got them all done. I wonder if you can guess how many boxwoods I pruned in the front yard. Um, 36. 36 boxwoods in the front garden area, and I don't even remember now at this point what I said was in the back. 24 or something, I don't know. When I watch the video back and edit it, I'll find out and I'll total it up. So we pruned 36, but there's actually 42 in the front yard because I didn't prune like these new guys that I just put in. There was another one that I didn't prune because it looked fine. Another one in a container that we planted in a little bit ago that I didn't prune. So yeah, that was a lot of pruning, and then amongst other things that I did too. I couldn't just focus on just boxwoods. I ended up doing some tree pruning, some other shrub pruning, some things that were just kind of growing into other plants. Um, Lots of weeding. There's always weeding to do. Pruning back the candy tuft and some sweet alyssum that you might have saw. I just, you know, as the day goes on and you're focused on just one thing, other things start creeping in, and that's just fine. So this was a full day of pruning and garden work and all the things. Fortunately, it was Saturday and my boys were all occupied doing other things, and my husband was here, all this stuff. So much done today. Let me just show you just really quick a few of the boxwoods that we did. I think you kind of got the gist of it. This was by no means, by the way, this was by no means a comprehensive guide to pruning boxwoods. I am not an expert. I have a lot of them, but I just prune them basically to shape them. That's kind of my goal. One tip: use a super sharp pair of pruners, shrub shears. That's really helpful. Also, I don't tend to cut down into the really woody part of the boxwood. I just kind of go on the new growth. Also, don't do it when it's super hot or when you have really hot weather coming up on the forecast. Those are basically the tips that I go by and what's worked so far for me. So okay, so these cone boxwood here, these were kind of one of the more drastic prunings that we did today. They were pretty bushy. I don't know that I pruned them last year after I planted them in, so they were in need. And, you know, just kind of follow the shape of the boxwood is basically what I did. There's a couple along here that had really nice new growth. I didn't cut too far into those. Again, it's just really just shaping. And same with over here. This one right here had a lot more just like really dense woody growth, so I just really kind of touched up on the new growth. Same with this guy over here. This one is a little bit scant, so again, just pruning kind of encourages blooming. So that's basically what I did on that one. And here's some of the basket of gold that we pruned. It looks pretty ugly for a little while after you prune it, but it bounces back, and it's better that it doesn't go to seed. So anyway, these boxwoods I didn't do anything to, but this one here and right over there, and then we ended up with these two right here that we also just recently planted in that I did not, sorry, crazy sun, that I didn't shear or anything before we planted them in. I intend on these ones being the cones as well, but I wanted to give them a little bit of time to settle into their spots before I pruned on them. So today was just kind of their initial pruning, and there's Charlie. Today was just the kind of their initial pruning, and yeah, we'll do that again in subsequent years, but that's a good start for those ones. And then up here on the front lawn, you can see these ones really are just a little bit more defined now with a little bit of pruning. Same with on this side, they just kind of stand out a little bit more once they're pruned into their shape, separating them from the plants that are around them. And then I also, you know, when there was plants that were encroaching on the boxwood, I kind of pruned those back as well so that they don't damage the backside, because these boxwoods are my winter interest out here, and so I don't want the summer growing things to damage them, you know, in the process of those getting big. I want to keep them kind of off of the boxwoods. So these ones down here, this will be a great year for them because it's their first year of basically being out from underneath the vitex that was on top of them. And so I think these will be a lot happier. But like I said early on, boxwoods are pretty versatile, so they can handle the shade that these were in underneath the Vitex. So surprisingly, these ones down here that were always really shrouded still look really good. So these ones are all really prominent in this bed, and so I'm really happy with how these guys look. And then these ones over here also just really defined each of them. They were all kind of growing together, and that wasn't really the look, still that I was wanting, so just pruned those guys up. These two right here are two of them that I didn't actually prune on. They thought they looked still really nice and dense, and they didn't have too much new growth that they had put on. So these ones, I don't know. I'll have to see how they do later on in the season. It might be just a late fall pruning that I do on these ones. But so these are two that I didn't prune, and then also that guy in there. It's so covered now with the columbine, but we planted that in just a little bit ago, and I just kind of let that guy be. I didn't want to, do too much since it's just now getting used to its spot. You can see by my cart here that, yeah, we did a lot more, a lot more than just boxwood pruning. But I'm so glad to have this chore done. It is a little bit daunting, I'm not going to lie. Every year that it comes up and there's inevitably a couple more boxwoods to work on, I, I I don't want to say I dread it, but it's a little bit daunting. So anyway, fortunately it's pretty easy, kind of relaxing. The biggest annoyance for me, honestly, is just the clippings that end up on the ground, but the blankets that I use, little towels, helped a little bit with that. So there wasn't too much left over on the ground. But anyway, it is time to be done out in the garden today. I hope you guys found this video helpful and that it maybe gives you confidence to go out and prune your boxwood shrubs. Pruning anything, it can be kind of intimidating, and I know that I found a lot of just kind of confidence, I guess, in watching other people prune their shrubs and their plants in their gardens, watching them in their gardens. So maybe this video will kind of give you the same courage to go out and do the same in your gardens, or even just try boxwood for the first time. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and hope you're having a great day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.